Hello, my name is Bonny. I'm here to do my senior project on Microsoft Azure. I have a voice interpreter, Tiffany Harding, and she will be doing the voiceover for today's presentation. This slide is the one that I started with back at the beginning of the semester. It explains the goals that I had set out to accomplish for my senior project and the research categories. Here's some things that you really should understand about the clouds. There's different characteristics. There's on-demand, scalability, multi-tenant. That one means that you can share hardware with other customers and they can run different companies on one machine because they can separate the machines out into VMs. They have self-service, it's reliable, and it's utility-based subscription, which basically means you don't have to put a lot of cost up front. You just pay by the month, and it depends on your usage, how much service you use. You might be wondering why someone would choose the cloud. Microsoft has invested a lot of money in their research and development department for the purpose of the cloud because the internet is so versatile and it's used all over the world. It's becoming, mobile devices are becoming more popular, and all of the information is being stored on the cloud for easy access because of it doesn't matter where somebody is, if they're traveling or whatever, they can access their information. It doesn't matter where they are running their business throughout the world. So it seems that Azure is really a very effective business venture. It's becoming more aware, more recognized throughout the world. There are several benefits of using the cloud. You pay for what you use, and you don't have to pay if the service is just sitting there. You don't have to waste your money. You just go ahead and pay for the usage that's used on their machine. So it's better than buying your own. It's easy, it's fast. You deploy it. Like I said, you make monthly payments. It encourages a standard system, so it's easy to replicate. You can copy several VMs from one user without reinstalling it on each machine. It also is less in-house staff, so you don't need to house a big department for maintenance or care of the machines. And so that is also a financial savings for the company. Microsoft runs on PaaS, which is a platform assisted server. Microsoft will run all of these checked marks. So really the company only has to be concerned about their applications. So that would be basically with the development team to make sure that the product matches what the company needs, but all of the rest of the things are run by Azure, and so basically the company just develops the app and then Azure makes sure that everything is running properly. There are many benefits to the cloud. There's reduced cost, flexibility, agility. It's more mobile for those who are IP-based or use their cell phone frequently. They can handle their business on the fly, and they can do it through each device. It's highly automated. Again, the payments are easy. You just set up your VMs for your specific clients or your servers. And then again, the end user productivity. It's great for sales, for people who are working all over the world. They can do their sales and their business anywhere. That infrastructure is very important because it's user-based or usage-based. Like I said, you pay as you use. Again, it's self-service. You can decide whatever you want. It requires very little administration. It's scalable, like I said. You can change your machine depending on what you know. If you have a peak season, perhaps Christmas time, where you have to take a lot of orders, or maybe Black Friday and you need stronger hardware, CPUs, or memory, then you can go ahead and add that extra support. And then as business slows down again, then you reduce how much hardware you're using from the Azure cloud, and then that saves you money on hardware, licensure, and all of those kinds of things. This is what the Azure data center looks like. Crazy. It has several wires, boxes. It's enormous. I want to talk a little bit about the virtual machines that you can do through Azure. Azure will provide different imaging services, and you can choose from them to run on whatever machine you want. They support several different platforms, of course, Windows, but they also support Ubuntu, SQL, Apache, things like that. So really, it's up to the consumer to build whatever they want installed, and you can use your own. So for my project, I set up an account machine with Azure. I had 4 virtual machines set up. There was a web server running Apache, a Windows server that was running an Active Directory and DNS. The third machine was a database, a MySQL database, and the last machine was a file server. Just basically support for users and file shares and that kind of thing. I set up several users. I use the user objects, and I set a policy for each user depending on their roles within the company. So you can see this laid out here. And then on this side, it shows you what their roles are. And so Azure kind of counts them as a manager or a standard user. Secondly, I set up an Active Directory group object. So that was basically different departments. For example, human resources, accounting, IT, things like of that nature could be put into different groups. And then you just plug the user into the group that they belong. So now I want to talk about VMs on a Windows service. One thing that I really liked about Azure is that they show you your statistics, as shown here. Shows how much memory is left, how much space you have left, what's your IP address. So you can do most of your monitoring, so you can decide if you need to increase or decrease your usage, and that can help save you money because again, it is self-service and you can manage it by yourself. Azure has little downtime when you change over from one machine to another. If you're installing or updating something, then it might take 5 minutes to reinstall, and it doesn't affect the users overall, so that's really great. This is a picture of the file server and the different servers and their roles. I had 2 Ubuntu machines running. One was running MySQL and the other one was running Apache. And so I was able to use SSH to get into Azure using my credentials, and then I could SSH into basically my private machine. And so this is how I was able to get in to these. And so that's how we did that. And so I was able to manage all my command lines through SSH. So basically, we're to my summary. Azure is all about reducing your management and your operation overhead because you don't need a lot of staff to make sure that everything's running correctly in the company. For my senior project, my objectives that I had set out at the beginning of the semester was I wanted to have some experimentation done with Active Directory, but I also had a few dream things that I wanted to do and add to my project. And I feel like I did accomplish a few of these things. So we did the virtualization, and I was able to do remote access. I was able to get into Azure through SSH from my home machine. I was able to get into the MySQL database, the file server, and the web server of Apache. I talked with, not Apache, but Azure about setting up an educational license for Dixie State University. I asked them if they could allow Bob Nielsen's class to use their server or their services because we felt like the machines in class were a little bit slow and a little bit older. And they did provide us a 6-month code for each student for that specific class so that they could play around with the cloud. And it was really great for IT 3150. We use that a lot in that class. It would be great if for every semester that an instructor could have that for that specific class for those students to play with. It was great for studying with test out and Windows, and just really it felt like hands-on applicable work. I know that that might not be realistic, but that would be great. The amount of time that I spent in my senior project with using Azure and class time, things that I've done in the classroom and outside of the classroom with my use of Azure, speaking with Azure and their company and their team, trying to get that set up for the school was over 150 hours over the last few months. So that's it.